So now as part of our panel, we'd be, one, giving you an overview of what are the requirements as to why we need to have insurance for these operations. Second, we'll be going to our operator as well as a manufacturer to get an insight from them in terms of what are the challenges that they have been facing and how these products can help them cover their risks and liabilities. And then we will move on to Vaibhav here to understand as to what are the products that are available in the market. And lastly, we'll come to our underwriter to understand what are the risks that they are willing to cover and what are the changes that or the requirements that they have for the industry to sort of give them inputs on so that it could help them assess the risks better and then provide a coverage accordingly. And at last, if time permits, we'll open the floor for any questions that you may have. So as you all know, the regulations for drone, it came out sometime in the year 2018. However, it became effective from the month of December that year. And it's been a year since then, and a lot of developments have happened. And while the industry is still gearing up for its operational to become fully functional, one of the important aspects that remained untouched or not so much talked about is the insurance aspect, which is a mandatory requirement under the regulations. So as per the regulations, every remote pilot aircraft operator is required to have a third-party liability insurance. Now, when it comes to that, there are often these questions that are asked that what kind of risks are being covered, and first of all, what are the risks that are there to begin with for that to be covered. Some of the most apparent risks that I, being a lawyer who advise these companies on a regular basis, have seen or can think of are with respect to a damage that they can cause to a person or to a property, or given the nature of these drones are such that they are a computer flying in the air, they could also be engaged in sort of a privacy breach or a data collection without the consent of whoever's data is being collected, or they could be engaged in any form of mischief or nuisance, or there could be hacking-related problems that they may encounter, because of which they could incur liabilities. But to get a much better sense of what these real-life liabilities that could arise from an operator perspective, I'll now go on to Wasim to get a sense as to what are the experiences he has had, and if there's something that he would like to bring out to everyone's knowledge.
Yeah, thanks, Prashant. As rightly said, you're talking about drone insurance, and it's good to share the stage with one of the manufacturers and two representations from the insurance sector. And I'll be delighted to share some of our, I won't say delighted, I'm sorry. I'll be happy to share some of our challenges which we faced in our operations for last 2 years now. Yeah. And maybe manufacturers and insurers can help us out in proving, giving us the insurance for the drones, which we are using. So this is a case where we had to take up a big project where one flight, sorry, I'll tell you, there was a project of 4,200 square kilometers, which had to be carried out in 8 months. And it was like without holidays, without any, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. Sorry, so I was not a part of this project, but yeah. So the challenge was, in a day, we had to cover around 15 to 20 square kilometer of area, and that's a big challenge. I'm sure all the drone operators must agree with me that to cover 15 to 20 square kilometer in a day is a huge task. And we had to carry out without any gap if we had to continue within 8 months. Now what happened is, there are administrative challenges, there are weather conditions, monsoons, holidays, and a lot other things in India, which affected our operations. So for, say, 8 months is 240 days. We had to complete this work in 140 days. So our work doubled. From 15 to 20 square kilometers, we had to cover 25 to 30 square kilometers in a day. So using grid system, multi-flight systems. Using one control system, we had to operate multiple drones. So one drone we had to use for 60 minutes, of, like five times a day. So in this process, we incurred a huge loss because we had our challenges to complete the task within time. So it was a time-sensitive work, and we actually lost a lot of drones. So these are not only the cases. Actually, there are other factors which are affecting the drone operations, especially if we lose ground control communication with the drone. Sometimes the battery drains out, we don't know what happened in between. So that's a machine error. Sometimes the weather conditions are so bad. So we did some projects after Cyclone Titli, and to fly an altitude of more than 100 meters, we could not ascertain the wind speed. So that was a huge risk. So that's a disaster response, but we have to come up with some solutions. So some of the factors which we faced this year were, these conditions, and I'll be, very happy to take down those points, those, the suggestions or the regulations or the policies which can be made from the insurance, as well as some of the manufacturing if they are coming up with new models, what kind of models? Suppose a drone is flying and then it crashes with a bird. That's a very common thing. But now the technology is advanced that they can actually they can detect the bird and they can reroute their path. So if the manufacturers are coming up with such good innovations, then we should adopt it. And is the innovation covered? And if we can also take third-party insurances, liabilities under the drone insurance, then it will be a great help for an operator.
Thank you, Wasim. So what I gather from your inputs here is two of the most essential coverage that you're looking for is, of course, a third-party insurance, which is something that's been required even as per the regulations. And second is the hull loss that you may incur while you're operating. So from an operator perspective, of course, that makes sense. And of course, the insurers here and the broker would be sharing some more light on as to what sort of products are available. But to understand from you, Neil, from a manufacturer's perspective, what is it that you see that is more of a manufacturer problem than an operator? And together we can then take those questions with the insurers and the others.
Right. I think, until about a few years ago, I think drones started becoming popular only on the consumer side of things, right? So people started buying drones and using them for recreational purposes. And slowly people started to realize that, there are larger potentials here. Drones can be used for a number of different commercial applications. And over the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, that has really picked up. And we are at, just as Prashant mentioned, in December 2018, DGCA officially recognized that there is a large potential for use of these drones and came out with the regulations. Now, we are seeing a lot of interest from industries who want to now start adopting drones because of this regulatory framework. We see industries as diverse as mining companies or petrochemical companies want to use drones for, let's say, pipeline inspection, monitoring, inspection of flare stacks in refineries, for kind of monitoring vegetation growth around transmission utility lines. So there's a lot of, the uses of drones in these applications is only going to pick up. And I think all of these industrial users are definitely concerned about, what happens if the drone goes wrong. Is there any safety built into the drones? Are there parachutes? Is there redundancy? How do you manage failures? Because you might end up, crashing into a pipeline or a wind turbine or, causing a plant shutdown for some amount of time. And I think they're definitely also concerned about, do the operators have insurance to cover these kind of risks and operations? I guess now the DGC has really mandated that their operator needs to have third-party liability and this liability will be dependent, varied on the kind of usage of the drones, whether you're operating over a field for agricultural application or whether you're operating in vicinity of a pipeline. So I think there's a whole gamut of use cases that need to be considered while designing an operator insurance policy for drones. And from a manufacturer perspective, manufacturer definitely would be concerned about how these drones are being operated, whether the safety instructions which are provided by the manufacturer are being adhered to. Is there any liability going to be coming back to the manufacturer if the drones crashes into, some person or on some property? And that is something that, we would like to kind of insure against.
Thank you, Neil. So now that we have heard both from the operator and the manufacturer, and when we have a fair sense of the kind of risks that they are looking at, I would now move on to Vaibhav to understand from him as to whether we have products available in the market that cater their needs, or is it something that needs to be worked upon along with the industry to get a sense of what better products that may be offered that suits their requirement, or if you could just help us get a sense of that.
Sure, thanks. Basically, when I look into it, drone insurance as an insurance product is a new product in the insurance industry in India. Now, I specifically mentioned India. This product is available outside India. So when I'm looking into we have structured insurance policies for few of our clients in India, and we have to also adhere to the Indian insurance regulations. So typically what we do is we go across to international market. We also go to the Indian market, the Indian insurance companies, and we ask for terms. We typically get an insurance terms from a Lloyd's market, and as per the Indian insurance regulation, we have to either get a decline or a non-acceptable from the Indian insurance company as well as the branches of reinsurance companies in India, so that we can then get the policy fronted. So in short, yes, it is available. Because of the administrative requirements, it takes a little time for us to arrange a policy, but it's there. Now, what is drones insurance? It's basically a flying object. If it falls down, there's a damage to the property, the policy has a coverage to cover that particular property damage. If it flies on a person, if it flies into, I would say, an object, the object gets damaged, a third-party liability comes in, the policy can be structured to cover that, as well as if it hurts someone, the bodily injury arising out of the bodily injury, if there's a liability coming, the policy also covers for that. Earlier, Prashant mentioned in terms of invasion of privacy. There are certain times when the drones actually capture various, I would say, like images or videos of some personality where they are not permitted to take those photographs, and they publish it. Now, arising out of that, there could be a case against whosoever is captured the images or the videos, as well as against the journalist. If they have this policy, the privacy is built up arising out of the breach of privacy. If there's a liability claim coming in, the policy also can pay for that. Now, we also have observed something new in the recent days, is a manufacturer giving a warranty of maybe a 12 months or 24 months. Just like when you actually buy an equipment, maybe a white goods from a store, you have a warranty and you can extend the warranty by paying some additional amount. A warranty insurance can also be built up, extended warranty insurance can also be built up in a drone.
Thank you, Vaibhav. So that gives us an idea that there are products available, and the operators and manufacturers don't have to keep hunting for a new product to come out for them. But there are some readily available products which either they can make use of, or they can, of course, I mean, get into a dialogue to understand as to whether there are any tweaks possible to the existing products that could fit their requirements more favorably. To get a sense of that, now I'll move on to Mr. Ramanik here, who happens to be the insurer who provides the kind of coverage that the manufacturer and the operators require in order to feel safe about the operations that they do. So to get a sense from you, Mr. Ramanik, how do you think that, I mean, well, of course, there are existing products, but do you think that there could be something more added to that could provide the kind of coverage that the operators are looking for? Or if you can just shed some light upon what those existing products are already there and how have, as an insurer, you been looking after it?
Thank you. So fundamentally, if we look at the risk, as Vibhav was saying, risk is, one is the first party loss when you lose your equipment, because of XYZ reasons. It may be because of pilot error, it may be because of defective equipment, or whatever, there may be XYZ or various reasons for losing the equipment. So one is that, one is first party loss, other is we are talking about liabilities. In fact, if you look at liabilities are larger than first party loss, because in first party loss, it's very much predictable. The value of drone probably maybe $100,000 up to something like that, maybe $1 million at the most. But at the same time, when we talk about liabilities, liabilities could be huge. It could be running into a kind of amount which can really cause business interruption, or I would say it can cause question on the sustainability of the organization itself, So this is where liability exposures are huge. And when we look at fundamentals of drones insurance, it remains same, whether it's in India or abroad. And as of now, in fact, we are part of AIG group worldwide. So AIG is having drone insurance in various countries. They have experienced various kind of, I would say, losses, losses maybe due to pilot error, maybe equipment error and all that. And solutions are pretty much as such standard, which means, as Vibhav was saying, and we also discussed first party, third party, and also to some extent it can look at, we can look at the covering privacy. Also, there's a new aspect which is cyber. Cyber is really, I would say, kind of virgin area. Nobody knows about it, but it can have huge implications for drone manufacturers. It can have implications for operators. It can have, obviously, ultimately financial implications for insurers if they choose to cover cyber, So if you look at India, some of the policies are being issued not really as a drone insurance policy. It's a kind of, I would say, stopgap arrangement. People have come out, wherein they have issued kind of one typical coverage covering some sort of portion of the overall risk. But real need of the hour is to have a comprehensive solution, which means a single policy covering your asset insurance. Asset insurance means loss of drone, which again may be ranging from $10,000 to at the most, probably $1 million or so. And also liability. Liability again depends upon the kind of usage. So see, if you go further towards, I would say, I will just give a kind of brief touch of underwriting and pricing. Sometimes people ask how the pricing is done. So pricing is actually a function of your risk and coverages. So risk is what? Risk is about, one is first party loss of your equipment. That's a defined one. You know the value of the drone. And other side is the liability risk. Liability risk, when we talk about liability, it's about huge uncertainty, unpredictability. So there we look at usage of the drone, who's going to be flying, and where it's going to be flown into, which area and all that. For example, today only I was talking to someone in some of the stalls. They have usage of the drone which is into pesticides and kind of agrochemicals spray. So these chemicals are very much hazardous chemicals. If there's something goes wrong, maybe possibility of such wrongdoing or negligent is probably 1 in a million. But if it goes wrong, it is going to be causing deaths and a lot of damages to others. So that could attract huge liabilities to people who operate drones and also to the manufacturers also. So if there's a manufacturing defect, maybe while designing the drone, there's a defect in the design, or any other manufacturing defect, So that could actually lead huge liabilities on drone manufacturers as well. So these are the kind of liability risks, and this is where we are actually coming out of a, as a kind of bespoke solution for drone industry, which will have one single policy covering almost all risks. I would not say 100% risks because insurance doesn't really cover 100% risks, but as far as insurability is concerned, the maximum possible risks that one can cater to, that policy we are actually working upon. And other thing is that I think some of the questions which we were discussing internally, sometimes people, in fact, I had discussions with Smith and Deep of DFI about, how do we really structure the insurance policy. So see, I tell you, as of now, it's a very, very new, one is a new industry, new product. So we as an insurance provider, we want to be really enabler for the industry, So which means, as of now, we are open to the kind of structuring, sometimes people say, I want one policy covering a kind of annual operations. Sometimes people say, I want one policy for each flight. So that is something which can be worked upon, And also something which is most important for an insurance company is data. So the data here is, I think, industry will graduate to that level, when we have real data which can help us for actuarial analysis and all, But at the same time, we have pretty simple data requirements, where we look at kind of number of drones you want to insure, number of, I would say, RPS, etc. And then also look at the weight of RPS, value of RPS, and the usage, as I was saying, it's very, very important, because it really defines your liability. And also we talk about, or we ask about the kind of number of total annual hours you are going to fly the equipment, and some briefing about the pilots, etc. So it's a kind of 6 to 7 pointer as far as information requirement is concerned. So the whole thing is that I think, we really need to work together as an industry stakeholder, manufacturers, operators, and, insurance advisors and insurance providers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramanik. That's really insightful. And it's always good to know that the insurer is backing you up in so many ways where they're willing to accommodate the possibilities of the risks that may arise in your business, and the fact they're also willing to accommodate to the fact that you don't have to have an annual policy, but if there is a need for an on-demand policy, that's also something that they're willing to accommodate. While I know we have questions awaiting, but before I go to the audience for the questions, I also wanted our operators and manufacturers to ask any direct questions that they may have for the insurers here.
My questions were related to our operations only. Like, as I said, to avoid crashes, or like we do electric transmission line surveys, and due to magnetic interference, there can be a huge, risk of getting it into the line, and then there's a outage. So what kind of policy can be done? Because it's going to create a lot of loss to the people who are actually being catered by that particular line. So this is just an example. So like that, we had certain more cases, but we can discuss that later. But
yeah, so, as far as risk coverages are concerned under the policy, what we have is, these policies are actually typically unnamed peril policies. So if you say you are working on a power grid or power line and there is a damage to whatever power transmission, then one is that it's going to be damage to the physical damage to the line, which is again compensation. Other is that it could be kind of interruption and BI interruption. BI means business interruption, etc. So policies, when we talk about liability coverage under policy, it takes care of that. And also sometimes, there could be a number of deaths, because if there's a drone which crashes into that and then tower, let us say, goes down. So all these are actually inbuilt in terms of policy coverage. So we don't really list out, okay, A, B, C, D, and X, Y, Z, is something coverages are in terms of liabilities. We say overall liabilities covered, we typically define as bodily injury, property damage, and consequential losses because of that. So all this, besides bodily injury, property damage, it actually comes under the consequential loss section.
Two comments here. One was the request for data. So I think here, if as Digital Sky becomes operational, I'm sure that as part of the whole architecture for Digital Sky, after every flight, the operator is supposed to upload the flight logs to DGCA, and you will have data, and you're also supposed to report any incidents that you may have faced in the flight on Digital Sky. So could that data then be used to derive a product for
Absolutely.
that particular?
Absolutely,
so
that's going to be really, I would say, helpful for insurance industry to do justice to drone industry, because once we have data, then we can actually do our price modeling and all that. We can run our models, and then we can do pricing and kind of, coverages, etc. accordingly. Only thing, in fact, we were talking to DFI also. I think as of now, need of the hour is probably once people start flying and then they have infrastructure in terms of, or platform in terms of data generation and dissemination and integration with insurance industry, that would be really helpful in future.
Great. Vaibhav, you have anything to add on that front?
See, basically, when I'm looking into it, I'm looking into the data is basically on the pilots, okay? That's the main data which is required. Because whosoever is flying, if the person is having a experience in terms of flying that particular equipment, to that extent, it's a safer risk. But someone, a novice who is trying to fly a particular equipment, definitely there is a high exposure. So if you ask me, yes, the critical data would be the pilot's experience, whosoever is going to fly it. Second is in terms of like the equipment itself, what is the drone and the payload data. And the third is basically the purpose of its use. These are, to me, the three main of the basic information.
Thank you, Vaibhav. So now that we have a fair sense of understanding as to how the insurance regime around the drone sector works, now we are opening the floor for any questions that you may have. I think the first question I had was from the okay, I think we can go on to you for the first question. Can someone please hand him over the mic, please?
Good evening all. I am Vishal Sonane from ION Autonomous Systems. This was the last session, but this was a very important session, and many times this aspect is more neglected as far as this industry is concerned, and we are really happy to hear all these expert comments. So, sir, there are two things. One is the drone manufacturer and one is the service provider which is utilizing this drone platform. So as far as risk cover is concerned, we have costing evaluation of the drone equipment, the payload equipment, and some other things, some other parameters. But there are certain intangible factors or parameters which cannot have, say, commercial valuation. So how do we cover the risks related to those intangible parameters? To say a specific intangible parameter is like if we are utilizing a drone platform for some surveillance or some data capturing, and it has captured us a very important and critical data. And meanwhile, while having that flight operation, something bad happens with that drone. So how do we cover that data captured or the image captured with that drone? It is an intangible factor or parameter, but it is the most important parameter. So how do we cover those aspects? Because there will be two caselets. One will be a service provider is utilizing a drone of some OEM. So the liability will belong to whom? So these are the two major questions which I want to put up, and you can throw some light on this.
If I may interrupt here, please. Hi, Praful here. Adding on to the same question, and this goes to Asim and Neil. Data integrity, the cyber part which Mr. Ramnik also talked about. You have had 2 years of experience in operating drones. You already have some level of understanding of where you expect losses to come out, right? Whereas on the manufacturing side, the drones already come inbuilt with certain algorithms or softwares, let's say, simply put, which make sure that the drone will fly in a H pattern or a Y pattern or a Z pattern, right? If it deviates out of it is where insurance can come into picture. But within those parameters, the risk is somewhat reduced to that extent. What kind of data do you provide to manufacturers, and what kind of data does manufacturers work with for providing drones, which will in effect help us in getting the services and getting the products out in the insurance market for clients? That's the question.
As a manufacturer, so we have not been operating in the commercial space till now because of the regulations, but we've mainly been operating in the government space, where, you know, for example, a lot of police forces use our drones, and what we collect, you know, some pointers from them. So, for example, right now, you know, there's no digital sky, but we have them maintain a logbook of every single flight that they have done. We maintain, they themselves have to maintain that. And when we go for service, we do check the logbooks. We check the flight logs which are captured on the drone. We make sure that, you know, things are fine. We see if there's any problems. Definitely there is some safety factor built into the drone itself, which prevents the operator from taking it outside the parameters which the drone is designed not to do that. But there may be scenarios where, you know, there could be an equipment failure, which may, lead to a loss of functionality of that equipment, and then there may be a resultant impact on, on the drone itself. So there are cases like that in which we, as a manufacturer, we would want to kind of resolve that and make sure that our systems, our designs are as robust as possible. If there is any correction to be done, we would raise a ECR, which is an engineering change request, to correct our designs in case there was a design issue with the drone. So as a manufacturer, we would take definitely as much responsibility as possible to ensure that we are delivering the full quality of our products, and the same would be extended to the commercial enterprise as well. Though here, it becomes a little more fluid, because you don't know who will be operating the drone. You may have sold to a reseller, the reseller might be selling it to someone else. Those might not be directly in control with the manufacturer. So there are some issues there. I think as far as regulation goes, the manufacturer is liable to provide certain equipment on the drone itself. For example, the NPNT is something that the manufacturer is liable for. The drone cannot be flown or cannot be manufactured without having the NPNT module on the drone. So, when the UIN is generated, for example, it is generated, linking a particular operator to that particular drone and the manufacturer. Right. UIN is a one-time process. It happens the first time the drone gets registered to Digital Sky. It's essentially like a license plate number, which gets, when an operator buys the drone and wants to use it, the UIN automatically gets generated. It's an automated process through Digital Sky. So once the drone has a UIN, then all the tracking of that activity of the drone is done on Digital Sky against that particular UIN. So there is a mechanism for manufacturers to get some information available without infringing on the privacy of the operator as to how the drone is flying, how many hours it has flown, things like that, which is again data which could be used for building a better product.
So, operator point of view, we have been operating for 2 years, but there are like disclosure agreements where we don't share our data directly with the manufacturer or anybody who's seeking that. But essentially, we use that data to enhance our experience or enhance our operations.
That kind of data helps us understand your risk profile.
Correct. So we do provide some inputs, but it's requirement basis.
I think there was a second part of the question that the gentleman had asked on the coverage.
Sorry?
On the risk coverage aspect, the question that the gentleman had asked.
Yeah, can you please just
Yes, sir, you may, if you can please repeat the question.
intangible talk.
Yeah.
As of now, the policies, even the international policies don't take care of, what is covered is as we look at the policy, it says bodily injury, property damage or death of third parties. And when we talk about your drone, your equipment, we are talking about something which can be quantified, Probably in future one can look at covering, and it's a good, in fact, I've noted it down. It's a good food for thought for us, saying that if there's something which is more valuable than the machine
Correct.
itself,
Correct,
so how
sir.
to really look at solution,
Because at times it may so happen that, sir, the data which is captured, it is more valuable than the drone or the payload price only. Because these two things can be quantified, as you rightly said. But the data which is captured, say if we are operating into some sensitive areas, so at that point of time, the data captured is more important rather than the quantifiable aspects of the drone or the payload. So I think this is, you please take this input and try to amalgamate into your products so that the intangible factors which are there, I have just told one intangible factor, but there may be some other intangible factors which cannot be quantified, but yes, they are important to be considered for giving this cover, so that whoever is the user, whoever is the OEM, whoever is the service provider, what I would say,
Got it.
No,
the role is very clear as far as the liability of the thing is concerned.
No, it's duly noted, and thank you very much for that input. In fact, the fact that the industry is still budding and it's evolving, it's helpful to have insights like those which help everyone here improve.
Yeah,
Can
thank
we
you.
have our next question? Can we have from there?
Can someone give them mic, please?
This is
Yeah.
fine.
Good evening, sir. My name is Giridhar. I'm from Icon Surveys, Bangalore. And today in our drone industries, neither the drones are recognized, neither the pilots are recognized. So in such cases, if I had to go for insurance for the product which I'm already having it, so what is the basic document that you require?
So as far as documents are concerned, as I said in my earlier kind of statements, so what we need to know is the drone, about the equipment. We need to know about the equipment, the weight and kind of capacity, etc., and also the value. And then also how old is the equipment, how old is the drone or the machine. And then we talk about how many hours of annual flying you are going to do about. Then we'll also want to know about the pilot, the person who's going to fly the drone. So briefing, we have, as I said, 5 or 6 pointers, which can be provided as an initial underwriting input.
Okay, but whatever the information that we are going to provide is good enough for you, or you are going to ask any back information?
Usually, see, I tell you, it's a very, again, kind of virgin territory for everybody, but yes, most of the time, these are 6, 7 kind of pointers. On the basis of that, underwriting would be done,
Sir, you should have asked
for-
how much money should be insured. When they have all the details,
No,
you
see,
ask them how much money should be insured for that.
Yeah, I have already 2 drones. I have insured with the national insurance that I have taken a CGL, commercial
CGL.
general CGL policy.
So this is what actually I was telling about, as of now, the industry have got, I'm not criticizing first of all, but I'm saying as of now, the solutions which are there in the industry, they are kind of ad hoc solutions. If you see, CGL is not even aviation insurance. CGL, in fact, we are the largest underwriter of CGL in the country. CGL is a non-aviation product. CGL excludes aviation totally. But yes, probably as of now, they have given you CGL insurance.
Actually, what is happening is couple of government bodies, they started asking for the insurance. What kind of insurance you
Okay,
are
so
having
because
it.
of that, you have got that as
So
a
we have
paper.
nothing, we have to provide some document for that purpose, we have taken it.
Okay, okay.
I know that it is not available, but still we left with no other option.
Okay, got it.
Thank you for the question, sir.
thanks.
Can we have a mic here on the aisle seat in the third row for the sir here?
Like the automobile industry, where a third-party insurance is a must, if we want to fly a drone, there will be a third-party insurance which is a mandatory insurance required to comply to NPNT. So that should be one policy and one policy which is given, which is mandatory. Then like any other insurance, depending on what you want to insure, and how much you are ready to pay as premium, I am sure insurance companies can tailor the policies for your whatever losses you want to insure. But the minimum policy required to get an NPNT should be a standard policy which should be available, which is straight off.
Sure. I mean, there is a standard requirement within the regulations, sir, to that effect. I mean, however, it mainly deals with the third-party liability insurance that is required to be taken. However, I'm sure there are options available for the policies to be catered to meet all of those
That's what he's
requirements.
saying actually, the basic requirement is third party and one can actually add to that, if they want to.
True.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about how you want to, or wish to proceed for the coverages.
so just to add to it, when you look into a motor third party, as per the Act, the motor third party, if you are paid extra premium, you are able to cover an unlimited bodily injury under motor third party, and up to 7.5 lakhs for the, which is going to, I think, got increased to 10 lakhs in terms of property damage. Now, when I'm looking into a third party for drones, it is you who's actually wanting to take, whether you want to take a 5 crore policy, a 10 crore policy, or 100 crore policy. The premium, the Act in terms of drone is not specifying a particular liability limit in terms for third party. So as an, I would say, operator or pilot, you are actually looking for a cover which you are defining. You are buying. The law says that you need to have a coverage for that. Selecting a limit is depending upon you. Yeah.
So this is where I was saying, some of the factors like usage, who's going to use it, in which segment or sector it's going to be used. These are the kind of parameters one should be really careful about, because that will define or that will give you how much sum insured or limit of liability you should be going for,
I think we can
Sir,
have
that
one more
is
question.
what exactly my question was. I'm Chetan Kashyap. So my question pertained to this liability part of it only. So, even if I get to know that what all applications a drone might be put to, what would be the area of operations, these are very versatile machines, and the uses can change, and you can only have an expected number of hours utilization. That is an approximation which can be given. So based on all that, if I have to arrive upon a liability limit, and especially when I talk about consequential losses, like if I'm recently something which happened in Saudi Arabia where a refinery was shut down, the consequential losses might run into few hundred crores. So, it will be very difficult as an industry for everybody to arrive upon a number in terms of what kind of liability we do. Just to give a background, I'm an aeronautical engineer. I am into insurance myself. So we do a lot of aircraft insurances. So in aircraft insurances, there is a set pattern to decide upon liabilities that depends upon basically the fuel carried on board by any aircraft. So that is what decides the kind of liability you probably will have for it. But in this case, you might have fuel, you might have batteries, the kind of, because a dry drone, if I may say, without a fuel, a property damage by itself might not be that critical, but the consequential losses can be great. Absolutely. And if I am covering consequential losses, then the limits, it's very difficult for anybody to give a guess.
Absolutely. It's the, for liability underwriters, this is the most difficult question. How much is the liability one should be buying? And also, see, there is no thumb rule for calculating liability amount or limit of liability. But at the same time, sometimes, here the advantage sometimes one gets is the experience of underwriters. For example, what we have is we have AAG who's writing drones across the world. So in case-to-case basis, one can really, check it, okay, these are the kind of segments you are going for, and this is where you have similar segments, this is the kind of limits bought. And finally, end of the day, as we say, in India, it's a kind of first-time requirement, we are just getting into this product. So the insured may not be going for very high sum insured, because then the affordability of the entire product goes for a toss. You might say, okay, my product is going to be used in refineries. So if I suggest, okay, you buy for 100 crore limit of liability, that's going to be probably something which is going to be more than your annual turnover also. So therefore, there's a really balanced which is striked upon your requirement and the risk, and also the kind of premium payment one can go for,
So basically, you can look into 3 different options of limits. Now, when you come to a costing part of it, you know as to like what you want to shell out in terms of premium. Because premium is, if you ask me, it will be a part of the cost, it cannot be the entire cost.
That's exactly my point. As everybody here agrees, it's a budding industry and nobody really knows, And especially I was very keen on the point when you talked about consequential losses, because they can be huge. Even though the assets are insured, but the insurers will then go after the drone operator, of course, to recover those costs. Even if my asset is insured by an XYZ insurance company, I will have to give subrogation rights against the drone operator who has actually damaged my property or has resulted into a consequential loss. And especially with this refinery thing coming up, this will be a huge area.
Absolutely. So I think as the industry will evolve, we'll have more and more kind of cases, and it will give food for thought to future generations, saying that, okay, these are the kind of cases in India where so-and-so money has been paid because of consequential losses and all that. Then accordingly, some insureds could be, I would say, fixed in a better way or better manner,
Now, I think given the paucity of time, we'll take one last question from the gentleman.
Do you have any policy to cover for anti-drone systems also?
Anti-drone. As of now, we have not really thought about it. I think, again, this is a point, we'll note it down and, work upon it. Yes, please.
Are there any standard products right now that you're talking about? And is it only for NPNT compliant drones or non-certified drones as well? And how does one go about getting it? So I represent Thanos Technologies. We are a drone manufacturing company based out of Hyderabad. So we've always been trying to understand whether if one of our customer crashes, the liability, who does it come on, that's a different thing. As far as the regulations are concerned, what we understand is if something happens in case of an accident or this thing, the first thing that government or any insurance company might have to check is whether the drone is certified. Absolutely. So whether you already have standard products, and is it only for NPNT drones, and how does one actually get it if we wanted to get an insurance policy?
Okay, we are providing, basically as of now, yes, we are providing insurances. Okay. We have the reinsurers who have agreed on a certain set of information that they are going to settle the claim. In fact, we have also settled the claim in that respect. We are looking forward to the moment UIN number comes in, which will be served as a registration number, and then it becomes easier for us to insure in a much transparent manner. But yes, currently we are insuring it.
So it's like, motor policy, you can't have without driving license or registration number. So similar, I think, thumb rule will apply here.
So NPNT UIN are a basic criteria for getting an insurance policy?
Yeah, going ahead, it will be NPNT as well as UIN. But yes, as of now, we have many drone operators who actually have also suffered the losses. Okay. And definitely everybody wants to save. They would need to have some cover for it, and the cover is, yes, we are able to provide that cover.
So right now, if we are to take a policy, how do we go about it? Because there's not much information available online, even if you go
So basically, as I mentioned, I need 3 basic information. The make and model of the drone, which includes the payload, the pilot, as well as the flying hours which the pilot has. Okay. And third is the use.
Okay.
What is the end use? What is the drone going to do?
Okay. Right. So this is a customized policy that you're talking about or standard
It's a-
product?
It
that's
will
all?
cover everything in terms of your
Right.
own damage, in terms of third party, and if you want a cover for privacy, breach of privacy, that also can be provided.
Okay, and how do we actually reach out? Because there's no quick contact details or anything when we look down
You
for
can
drone
meet him
policies.
immediately after this session.
Okay,
You're all here, you can.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think with that, okay, we'll take one last question and we'll call it a wrap after that.
Yeah, very much.
So instead of drone companies taking insurance always for every flight with the UIN, it's an expensive affair for a startup to always go for an insurance. Why can't the company who is using drones as a service do the insurance for the assets that it's getting an inspection for? Because every time a drone company gives a proposal, he will have to go and check whether I've paid the premium for this month and can I go and do this inspection at this location. It'll keep changing, the variables will be many. Why can't the policy be taken by the person who will suffer the maximum loss?
Sure. I mean, it's a good suggestion, but I mean, how it works is, as of now, the regulations require every operator to have a third-party insurance. While, of course, I mean, having a third-party insurance does not mean that you're covered for all other forms of liabilities that may be there. With respect to that, if your client, to whomever you are providing your services, if they are willing to take care of that cost, that's welcoming. But then at the same time, there are some minimum standards that have been set out in the regulations, keeping the risks involved with the sector to be there too. At least that would have to be there too.
No, I agree with you 100% on having a basic prerequisite for everyone to be on the same football ground. But what I say is that if you are looking at adoption of drones at a higher rate, having premiums paid every month, these premiums are paid every month. The amount that I would insure for is something which is unclear from this discussion. Like if I go and do an inspection of something worth 100 crores versus I go and do an inspection of 10 crores, every time the variable of the premium will change site to site. So how do I, as a drone service provider, cater to the amount of assets that I would do in a year by this policy? It's still very vague from that point of view.
No,
That's
I think
why
you're-
the guy who is getting this inspection done, if he does a insurance and we pay a percentage of it for that particular inspection if something goes wrong during that period, then it makes more sense as a drone services company.
I think purely on the premium perspective, I think this is something that we also touched upon while we were talking, is, I mean, one, of course, it is generally on an annual basis, but there are options available where an on-demand insurance policy can be provided, where it is for each flight that you are taking, as against you having to pay on an annual basis. But I'm happy to stand corrected here in case of there's
Yes, we have also arranged insurance for specific purpose by someone who has hired or leased or taken on lease a particular drone.
Sir, if I may interrupt, I think he is asking for first-party insurance for drones, first-party damage. So, if I was a refinery owner, I have subcontracted you to do a survey. What if your drone
That is first party, yes.
why can I not buy an insurance policy? That's what he's referring.
You can, that's welcoming. That's,
Not damage to the, not damage to the refinery, no. If he is a refinery
sorry,
owner, then he won't be able to.
As myself purchasing against the risk of drone damage.
But then see, the thing is like when you're looking into it, are you owning the drone? No.
The insured interest from the drone operator's point of view is not his concern. His concern is my asset, my liability to my property.
So that could be part of their own asset insurance, rather than going for drone policy, isn't it?
So the question is, do the current policies cover something like this
No, as of
from a
now-
drone damage?
Policies are not structured for this. Obviously, we can take it.
Sir, can I
it's a
answer
good
this
thing.
question? So my name is Ramesh, I'm from Reliance General Insurance. To answer the question, gentleman here and the back who has taken CGL policy. Frankly, this policy would serve your purpose of the compliance and maybe the claim also as they are giving the policy, issuing the policy. But the regulator has not yet come with this product, the structure product. The structured product is yet to come, which will cover the first party, third party liability with some add-ons on that. And to answer the question of his installment where the premium is paid every month, that has not yet been decided. It is based on the company who are filing the product. And while they file the product, they have to say that this kind of the installment facility they will be giving to the customers. And if it is approved by the regulator, I mean the insurance regulator, then that product can be sold in the market. And to answer again that question, that what more information they can ask, right now the CGL policies suffices, so they can ask the question as and when or whatever they required, but there would be a proper proposal form in which all the information will be required to be given to underwrite this risk. My only question with, if anybody of the panel can answer is, that there is a logbook which is which is required to be maintained as per the draft regulation. The data of the logbook can be made public or to the insurance company, because that will give the frequency of what is happening to the drone, where it is flying, what are the incidents taking place, and so that we can rate our product accordingly.
So this is where the industry is working upon, that platform. So you have the data, and also to that level they are talking about real-time data, So that will take some time, but I think there's a progress on that.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. I think with that, we'll wrap up the panel. Thank you all for being such a patient audience.